Yeah, on GH1 television. We're live from our studios at the Platinum Place, North Range. Also live on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube at GH1 TV. Now, your headlines for this morning. Supreme Court dismisses Kodjo Nkrumah's application for injunction to stop trials during legal vacation. Also, Narcotic Control Commission arrests courier driver in suspected cocaine bust at Accra International Airport. What does this say about Ghana's vulnerability as a transit point? We'll find out shortly. Social Workers Association calls for urgent, concreted effort to provide justice for the 14-year-old girl sexually abused by two security men in Bolga Girls High School. In business, cocoa marketing company launches 24-hour operating model for cocoa processing in Ghana. Well, I invite you to stay with me because I've got details of these and more coming up shortly. Well, grateful for your company this morning. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. The details now, and let me start from the court because the Supreme Court has dismissed an application for interlocutory injunction filed by the Member of Parliament for Ofuasia Yorubi, Kodjo Nkrumah, seeking to restrain High Court judges from conducting trials during the legal vacation under a warrant issued by the Chief Justice. Justice Gabriel Pwaman, sitting as a single judge, in his ruling on August 21, held that the applicant failed to establish a serious constitutional question to warrant the grant of an injunction. The substantive case challenges the warrant issued by the Chief Justice authorizing high courts to continue trials between August 1 and September 30, 2026. Well, let's cross over now to the court and speak to my colleague, Mutala Inusa, who was in court today for us. Now, Mutala, talk to me about really what transpired, aside what we know, the concluding parts being the judge basically throwing out the case.
Essentially, yesterday, the parties advanced the argument. Lawyers for Kodjo Nkrumah, who is the applicant, led by Frank Davis, made copious submission why they think that the trials that are happening within the legal vacation, specifically with respect to the matters before the specialized courts 1 and 2, they believe that that is not what the law prescribed. And so during vacation, only motions could be heard. And they believe that that fundamentally infringes on the rights of the accused persons before the court. Deputy Attorney General Dr. Joseph Mensah vehemently opposed to that ground of submission and believe that expedited hearing or trials are what needs to be done. And those clear rules really exist to say that vacation court should not commence or should not conduct trial. Justice Gabriel Pwaman, a short while ago, has delivered his extensive ruling on the matter and believe that one of the things that he said was that, yes, although the court has jurisdiction to injunct an act of a public officer in this respect, the Chief Justice who issued the warrant, they believe that Kodjo Nkrumah failed or they could not demonstrate that substantive case, he has a high rate of success, which is the reason he's asking for an interlocutory injunction. The judge also looked at Article 17 of the 1992 Constitution, where he was talking about equality and then non-discrimination, where he also makes the point that Kodjo Nkrumah was making essentially has got nothing to do. Nothing was said to suggest that the Chief Justice directed per the law differently, that the specific judges to take decisions that should not be taken, essentially saying that the warrant is for the judges to conduct their own trials. The Chief Justice is not saying something different, that the judges to do what the Chief Justice wants. He said Kodjo Oponkumah could not demonstrate that. And he himself admitted that the Chief Justice, who is the head of administration, has that discretion to issue warrants to judges to sit in the course of the legal vacation. So when Justice Gabriel Poman put the argument together and all of that, he was also of the view that if you look at the welfare of judges vis-a-vis judges going on vacation, lawyers going on vacation, he said parties who are sitting during the course of this legal vacation would definitely go on vacation when the new legal year resumes. But when you take the lawyers are independent people who provide services and all of that. They can take their leave at any point in time in the year. So you cannot say that during the course of the legal vacation, you as a lawyer, you're also entitled to legal vacation. For that matter, you cannot come to court and then consider or take part in trial. So, in totality of that, the judge also considered speedy trials and was of the view that the application for interlocutory injunction cannot suffice, and therefore, same has been dismissed. Essentially saying that the cases which include the former Bafasi CEO, Abdul Hanan Wahab, and of course, the National Signals Bureau, which have all been adjourned to the 25th of August. Once that day comes, the trials will resume and proceed as directed by the court.
Murtala, thank you so much for giving us updates from the Supreme Court on this particular crucial matter regarding trials during the legal vacation. But let's get a discussion underway on this with private legal practitioner Justice Abdullahi. Justice Abdullahi, thank you so much for joining us. So what is your reading or your understanding into what really transpired at the court today?
I think even before this application was filed, if you remember, Lomgoni had already filed a similar suit on the things, challenging the legality or otherwise, the constitutionality or otherwise of the legal vacation thing. And of course, he didn't add any application for injunction on that. And this has taken prominence because he filed an injunction attempting to halt all other trials during the vacation. But that whole application is so self-contradicting to the point where the very application seeking to halt all other hearings is also being heard during the vacation. But of course, the argument is made that indeed this is an application. The other ones are substantive hearings and trials, and so the two may be a little different from each other. But it is still the court sitting during vacations, and so it's inherently self-contradicting. But outside of that, I did not expect that this application would be successful. I wasn't, but I would have been surprised if it was successful because the whole basis for the application was targeted at particular cases, i.e. the politically exposed cases currently ongoing. And if you'd ask me, I wonder where in any of the decisions of the CJ a specific mention is made of specific cases. If I don't know if you monitored my interview last Saturday, I stressed on this fact that all the warrants to all the courts are essentially for the courts to sit, not on specific cases, but for all the cases that they are sitting. Right. And I cited examples of several courts. In fact, if you go to Amasaman High Court, for instance, the judge takes about 52 cases a week. 52 cases a week. So assuming there was a political case in that court, I think that's Justice Graham. Assuming there's a political case in that court, and you skew that to mean that those cases are essentially because of the political nature of them, I think you may be so wrong. And I do not see how that would suffice for an injunction. If you go to Justice Kokuvite's court, she has about 60 cases a week. 60 cases a week. Put together, you're dealing with over 200 cases in a month. Now, the political cases in Justice Kokuvite's case court, just about 2 or 3. So how would one unimaginably be able to conclusively say that a CJ who has given a warrant, which is within his normal administrative powers,
Right.
granted by the Constitution. In fact, if you read the Constitution, you will notice that the CJ has two hats that he wears. One hat being a judge, the other hat being administrative head of the judiciary.
True.
Now, he exercises these administrative powers and issues a warrant for a court to sit. And you would want to challenge that on the basis of its unconstitutionality. Now, you are saying in effect, if you say that, you are saying in effect that the Constitution itself is unconstitutional because the Constitution that granted the CG the power to issue a warrant.
Right.
And guess what? Warrants are not only issued during vacations. Warrants are issued even during terms. Because a judge needs a warrant to sit, whether it's within term or outside of term. If you don't have a warrant, you cannot sit in a particular court.
Very well.
But once you are sitting in a particular court and we are on vacation, then you need additional warrants to sit in that court.
So for those who have,
that,
right. But counsel, for those who have argued then that legal vacation is not necessarily a vacation of the bar, but really meant for the bench, does this particular decision of the court go to strengthen that?
Indeed, this case strengthened that position, except that the bar is a bigger stakeholder in this whole enterprise. And so to say that it is limited to just the bench may be a little difficult, considering that without the bar, the bench cannot work alone.
Right.
You need the bar for the two to work because the two are symbiotically connected. And so that argument, I disagree a bit with that argument because I think it is stretching. I mean, it will be an overstretch of that argument.
Okay.
The court cannot simply sit without any lawyer being there. Obviously, of course, the Constitution allows anybody to represent himself. He doesn't need a lawyer to be represented. However, we all know the kind of chaos that would result in if everyone appearing before the court comes without a lawyer. If one or two persons come without a lawyer, it's understandable. But you cannot say that you do away with the bar and then the bench can do as it pleases with the parties involved. That doesn't happen that way. But it is the reason that when the vacation is about commencing, lawyers and judges negotiate on how to deal with pending matters, particularly when a judge knows that she'll be sitting during the vacation. And every lawyer does this. So before vacation, normally typically in July, every lawyer in every court goes around asking which judges will be sitting during the vacation. Why? The idea is to adjust your schedules during the vacation so that the cases that are important to you that you want to have heard during the vacation, you know the court that will be sitting, and then you can relate to that judge from that angle, and then adjust your time scale, your diary to suit that.
Very well.
Otherwise, those things will be immaterial if these negotiations do not happen.
Well, that's Justice Abdullahi. He is a lawyer and also a law lecturer at the UPSA Law Faculty. But let's move on to some other stories. And the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, has intercepted a consignment containing about 150 kilograms of a substance suspected to be cocaine at the Accra International Airport. A courier delivery driver has been arrested in connection with the seizure as investigations continue to establish the source of the consignment and whether other persons are involved. Now, the suspect is expected to assist investigators as NACOC works to establish how the consignment ended up at the airport and the identities of other persons who may be connected to the package. The development comes amid heightened efforts by NACOC and other security agencies to prevent Ghana from being used as a transit point for illicit drugs. The seizure represents a significant quantity of suspected cocaine, although the substance will be subject to the requisite testing and investigative procedures to establish its exact composition. NACOC is expected to provide further details as investigations progress. So this particular incident raises questions about our borders and how secure they are, particularly the airport, especially because some few weeks or months ago, we also heard that some shipment left Ghana for Australia, and then the bust was made in Australia. And so let's engage security analyst Samuel Apia on this development. Mr. Apia, thank you so much for joining us. So really, it looks like we are getting incidents of busts when it comes to suspected we suspected cocaine at the airport. What do you make of this development?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I think the fact that we are able to apprehend or intercept some of these transactions and shipments is an indication that as a nation, we are working. It's in progress, but then I think if we are able to intercept it before it exits our borders, then it means our institutions are doing their possible best.
Right.
I believe that we would need to have to do more, because what is key is the preventive measures that need to be in place, which will indicate or will send signal to people that regardless of how sophisticated you become, the institutions we have are able to trace you, intercept, and also arrest or confiscate some of these illicit drugs. So I believe that we can do more, but then let's commend the effort made by the institution to first and foremost intercept this product that were not able to exit the borders of the country. So this will be my initial assessment for them.
Right. And usually we hear that, yes, indeed, the Narcotics Control Commission is investigating the matter. The security agencies are liaising to investigate the matter. Is it that we've not necessarily made the punishment also very harsh and a deterrent enough for others? Because regardless of the bust, we still hear incidents of repeated attempts to smuggle these drugs through our airports. Hello, Mr. Apia, can you hear me? Right. Hello, Mr. Apia, can you hear me?
Well, I'm having difficulty because it seems your network is breaking.
Okay, but is it better now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I'm asking, we keep hearing of these attempts to smuggle drugs out of the country. Yes, we are told that there are busts here and there, but it looks like it's not deterrent enough. What do we need to do?
Well, the arrest itself, the arrest alone will not constitute enough deterrent. Post the arrest, what will become the investigation's results and their ultimate punishment? That serves severe deterrent, and that is where probably we need to focus, because it is not all about arrest and investigation. In recent times, we had similar incidents that took place at the harbor, Tema Harbor.
Right.
Okay. I know how sophisticated these investigations can become, but what is key that we need to also let the public know is that if people are named and shamed, that is where others will also take a cue.
Absolutely.
But if we make it such that we don't name the perpetrators or the people involved, and we just put it out there, blunt, that product or some suspected illicit drug is being intercepted, investigation is ongoing, and we don't see the end of it, we don't get to know what the report, what entails, and so it becomes public knowledge, so that people are named and shamed. At the end of the day, it wouldn't serve the needed, deterrent that's supposed to. But if we name and shame people and we get the results public, let people know that those who were arrested for that incident, this is the end result. They've been prosecuted, they've been sentenced, or they've been convicted. And at the end of the day, I mean, we get to know them by face,
right,
by name, and all their identity. I think that is where we can serve, or we can send a signal out there that people, when you are arrested, you will never be covered.
Absolutely.
And so we should let that be part of the deterrent measures, but not investigation that at the end of the day, we don't see, we don't know, we don't even come across who were involved and the real identity of the cabal behind it.
Very well. Mr. Apia, thank you so much. That's Samuel Apia. He's a security analyst. Now, the fight against drug abuse in the Bono region is taking a broader approach, combining law enforcement with education, counseling, and rehabilitation. The Narcotics Control Commission says tackling the growing threat requires not only arrests, but stronger support from parents, schools, and communities.
For the Narcotics Control Commission, the battle against drug abuse cannot be won through arrests alone. Under the Narcotics Control Commission Act, the agency works extend from law enforcement to public education, treatment, rehabilitation, and efforts to prevent chemicals from being diverted into the illegal productions of drugs. The Commission says cannabis remains the most commonly abused illicit drug.
In the past, you could see that people only smoke marijuana, but now some people put it in food, toffees, and the rest. Some also use it as tea. So it contributes to the wide usage of the substance.
In response, officers are intensifying education in schools and communities and establishing drug-free clubs to encourage peer education and early intervention.
Because we believe that it is the youth that are mostly involved in substance use. And when we are able to give them right information about drugs, they get informed, become very assertive, to reject these drugs.
The Commission is therefore appealing for stronger support to help people struggling with substance use disorders assess the care they need.
And for the people who are unfortunately already using drugs, we also know that there is hope for them, even though they are in this situation. And those who are not yet in it, they get to learn that this is what will happen when I take drugs. This is how my life can change. And so it will be something that will stop them before they get into the drug use.
The Commission is urging parents to pay closer attention to their children while calling on communities to report suspected drug-related activities. Preventing drug abuse is not the responsibility of NACOC alone. It is a fight that begins at home, in schools, and within the community.
Well, let's stay in Bolgatanga a little while, but this time around not about drugs, because the Circuit Court in Bolgatanga has remanded into police custody the two persons accused of sexually abusing a 14-year-old girl with special needs. They are to reappear on 2nd September 2026. Now, according to a statement by the Ghana Education Service, the student, who is on medication to manage autism, reportedly suffered a relapse and required medical attention when the alleged incident occurred. Information gathered indicates that the incident occurred in June 2026. The school authorities reportedly revoked the victim's boarding status following the incident, with her parents' pleas for her reinstatement to boarding house not granted. The police investigations into the case continues as Ghana Education Service reinstates the girl's boarding status. Let's cross over the phone lines now and speak with a reporter from Media Without Borders, Edward Adeti, and he is joining us via Zoom to have a conversation on this particular development. Edward, if you could just unmute for me. You broke the story. Give us a little update on the case. Hello, Edward. If you could just unmute so that we can have this conversation. Right, so quite an unfortunate incident there, but the police say yes, they've arrested the 2 watchmen for defiling that 14-year-old girl in Bolgatanga. And what we are being told now is that yes, the plea from her parents for her to be reinstated into the boarding house has been granted. And the police is also investigating the matter. The matter, we are told, has been, as it were, the court has adjourned to the 2nd of September 2026 to continue hearing for this particular case. Quite a very worrying situation there, especially looking at the young girl involved and the 2 watchmen, the men who abused her sexually. Very troubling there. Well, we'll try and establish contact with Edward Adeti. He broke the story, and so we'll be reaching him to get to understand exactly more on this particular development, because we are told that it was a 72-year-old security man and another one abusing a 14-year-old girl. Very troubling. Edward, thank you so much for joining us via phone. So talk to me about the updates on this particular incident regarding the 14-year-old girl who was unfortunately abused sexually by these 2 men.
Yeah, the update is that the 2 men involved in this incident or case were remanded into police custody by a circuit court in Bolgatanga yesterday, and they will appear next month on the 2nd of September this year. And I'm told that the municipal chief executive for Bolgatanga, Roland Ayo, is currently at the school talking to school authorities and to at least chart a better way forward, better as in doing things better than the school, we are told, has always done things. And the parents of the girl, the family, I should say, are happy about what happened yesterday, which was 2 statements coming from, one from the Ghana Education Service, the other from the Ministry of Education, signed by the Member of Parliament for Busa South and Deputy Minister for Education, Dr. Clement Apak, assuring the parents or the family that the girl will be well taken care of. And one line the parents are also happy about comes from the statement issued by the Ministry of Education, where the Deputy Minister says that a minor should not be held responsible for sexual abuse perpetrated by adults. And the parents were unhappy until this time about the letter the school wrote to them, saying that the girl was found guilty of sexual misconduct. And they arrive at this decision in line with a portion of the GS Code of Conduct regarding students in boarding schools. And the parents said this was too harsh. Why would a girl, a minor, a girl who is just 14 years of age, and not just that, this is a girl, a student with autism, maybe to put it in a better or plain word, a girl with special needs, described this way as guilty of sexual misconduct. A minor wouldn't know whatever he or she does as an adult would. And aside that, this is a girl with a special condition and held responsible for what 2 adult employees did to her as in sexual abuse. This was the concern of the parents until they got this backing from the Minister of Education. And again, what has also made the family happy is the directive the Minister of Education also gave that the girl should be reinstated as a boarding student. Before then, or before the statement was given or issued, the school had written in that same letter that they were converting the girl or withdrawing her boarding status and converting her to a day student. Something the parents, again, were not happy with, because they believe the girl will learn better, grow better, if she was allowed to be integrated into the campus with her colleagues. So this is how it's been, and the school management has come under strong condemnation from the public, and there's a groundswell of calls for the administration to be changed, as in starting with the headmistress of the school, taken away from the school. That is exactly what's happening currently in the Upper East region.
Edward, thank you so much, and thank you for the great job you're doing. But joining us to discuss this disturbing incident also is the national president of the Social Workers Association of Ghana, Divine Ehogba, who is joining us via Zoom for a conversation now. Divine, thank you so much for joining us. And if you can hear me, I just want to find out what are your thoughts on this particular development, because I'm sure it has come to your notice as well as social workers. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much. And I'm so glad to be part of this discussion because children are the future leaders of Ghana. And issues concerning children should not be taken lightly. And, you know, when I heard the news, I was so astonished. I was so disturbed. I was dumbfounded. I couldn't even say anything. I was speechless, especially with the letter written by the headmistress. That letter shouldn't have been written in any way. It's uncalled for, and it's something that has shown that we, as Ghanaians, have no heart for the vulnerable persons. Left alone, a disabled child that has been defiled. Let's ask the headmistress. If the child has been put in that situation, is that how she's going to handle it? Let's ask the headmistress. If that child were to be at the one's daughter, is that how she's going to handle it? I was very astonished. I was very, very disturbed. I was very, 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 very disturbed because I also have a girl child. And if such a thing happened, being a vulnerable person like her and myself, is that how are they going to treat us? So please, I didn't take it lightly at all.
Right.
I can link this to another. I can link. Hello, 1 minute. I can link this to another similar case that is happening at Adenta Obojo. The same watchman too also raped a 12-year-old girl during school hours, and investigations revealed that this girl they have multiple rape her. They've been laying her with 10 cedi. Luckily, the girl child education officer reported the case to the social welfare, and we took it up to the police, and now they are facing court at the one-stop shop court at the Ghana Police Service headquarters. So please, we need to wake up and go to the interest of these vulnerable children, because if we don't do that, we have no future. Thank you, boss.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you so much as well for bringing this to light. A very worrying situation. I'm sure that indeed the police would also expedite work on this matters. You're still watching news from here on GHOne television with me, Joshua Kodjo Mensah. We've got more for you. With us here on Newsroom on GHOne television. To more stories now, and the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Caroline Randolph-Amisa, has revealed the service is battling a sharp rise in medical legal suits against health facilities as cases have doubled from 40 in 2023 to 89 in 2025. According to her, the cases could cost the service about 400 million cedis. She disclosed this in an interview on the sidelines of a structured training program for legal officers in the health sector.
Increasing exposure to financial loss, reputational damage, operational disruption, and most importantly, declining public confidence. As we stand here, I really wonder how people feel when they are going to the hospital. And there are some hospitals that have made a name. You hear places like Kodjo, wherever they tell you that yes, and it suffices because sometimes, whether through no fault of ours as clinicians or the institution as the hospital, people may delay at home and come when it is too late, but yet still, it has
Right, so we apologize for the poor sound there, but let's speak to Tony Goodman, who speaks for the ministry. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. So really, how worrying is the situation?
Very worrying. You remember just recently at the Government Accountability Series, the minister mentioned that daily he gets requests from the public regarding medical negligence. And that is why some of the things he does, he takes them seriously, goes to the hospital and makes sure that people are aware of what they are doing and let them know that other people are watching. He has even mentioned that the technical coordination unit in the ministry should be visiting hospitals periodically to get them to know that Ghanaians have become so much aware of their health, and they would want more from health workers, and that we should use this opportunity to continuously create the awareness within the medical facility. That is why we've also mentioned that every facility must have a client service unit. There must be a dedicated line where we can all call to make complaints. Where there are no that clear communication line, people tend to actually resort to court processes and all that. So these are some of the things we have identified in the ministry and we are trying to work on. The other aspect, which is the individual attitude, individuals also the way we relate to work, is also one of the things we have identified and we are dealing with it. You will remember the Kolebu issue, and then when the gentleman was taken around and eventually died. All these things are some of the things we in the ministry are taking seriously. Because at the end of the day, when the individual is sued, vicariously the ministry is attached. And it's one of the things we want to avoid, because we can't be using monies meant for medication, meant for equipment to be paying judgment debt and all that. So our brother, it's a worrying cause, and then we are also looking at how best we can deal with it.
So how many of these cases have really been dealt with so far?
On top of my mind, I remember there were some at Ridge Hospital recently, about 20 million who was paid. There were some also at various facilities in other regions. As I speak to you, we have a lot of them being reviewed also by the legal team of the ministry. So it keeps coming. It's not as though it comes and ends. It keeps coming daily.
And you say it's a worrying concern, and you've put in place mechanisms to ensure that really we do not have to deal with all of these things. But how sure are you, or how confident are you in the mechanisms that have been instituted to at least reduce these cases that really you're slapped with?
Just about, I think a week ago, when I spoke to the registrar of the Medical and Dental Council, he also mentioned that most relatives of patients themselves have also submitted a lot of negligence reports to them, petition to them, and they are looking into it. What he said at that, myself and him, that discussion when we have it, he said there are days they do open hearing, and he would want the media to even sit in this hearing to know some of the issues that are brought to them. So, Abra, you and I will have to also be interested in what happens there, and then we can look at it. But what the ministry we are doing is what I told you about. The minister wants us to have that unit going around, making sure that people are aware. If you are working at the back of your shoulders, you know that somebody is watching. You'll be more careful.
Absolutely.
You'll be more careful. Well, so these are some of the things we're also putting in place.
Very well. Tony, thank you so much for speaking with us. Tony Goodman speaks for the Health Ministry, and quite a lot of issues have been raised regarding this one, with the Deputy Minister telling us that we are looking at over 89 cases that could cost us around 400 million Ghana cedis. Tony says that really this is not something that the ministry is excited about, and so mechanisms are being put in place to ensure that we do not have these negligence cases actually on the ascendancy. But I'll be speaking to a health analyst shortly, Samuel Arthur, to also give us his perspectives to this particular issue of medical negligence and the cases that are brought against some health facilities, some health workers, and by extension, the health ministry. And so Samuel Arthur is joining us. Mr. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us. So really, what do these cases really speak to in terms of our healthcare delivery system? Hello, Mr. Arthur, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Samuel Arthur. Thank you for joining us. So I'm asking, these cases of medical negligence that we seem to be recording on the ascendancy, what do they really tell us about our healthcare delivery systems?
So thank you for bringing me into this discussion. It is a worrying situation, but I guess one, it is good, and then it is also bad. Now, I want to look at it from these two angles. Mm-hmm. It is good. Let's look at the good side. The good side is one, then it tells me from a public health, community health point that people that seek health care, patients now are becoming enlightened.
Right.
People now understand, they know their rights, and they can rightly assert it. And in situations where they need to demand accountability, for example, in situations where people have made or filed suit against facilities and clinicians, and also had so that is a sign that the patient or the community is getting enlightened, is getting to understand what their rights are, and how also to seek redress in situations where they find out that their rights have been abused. So for me, an increase in these situations is telling me that now there's some kind of awakening among the patients, because before, a lot of patients would have called in, and people, even though would just complain about it, a very few of these cases came out to the front burner or even to our courts and places where the patient could clearly seek redress. So that for me is a good sign.
Mm-hmm. And
now,
the bad?
The bad, obviously, for when we talk about negligence, we are talking about issues of the patient, the life of the patient in line. Now, issue of care. So we are looking at cases where there could be misdiagnosis, there could be cases where there could be mistreatment, there could be cases where complications out of treatment, and in some cases, it becomes fatal where people even die in the process. So for me, the bad side is then if we have a lot of these cases of negligence coming up, we may not be even looking at the claims or the quantum of the amount of money, but we're looking at the recurrence. It is telling you some negligence, and then the pain it has on patients, people we are losing, the complications that probably individuals may have to suffer. In some cases, people have died and families have had to suffer. So for me, that for me is also quite worrying, and that's why I think it is bad in this sense.
So what can we do to basically stem the tide?
Yeah, so of course, it's important that at the point of care, the duty of care is largely on the clinician, even though we know the patient also has a contributory factor. So it's important that the regulatory agencies, for example, the Medical and Dental Council, the Ghana Medical Associations, and even various groupings within the health sector, and all who play quite an important role in the delivery of care at our various facilities, we begin to look at supervision. We begin to look at mentoring and coaching among colleagues and even among staff. We need to also look at refresher trainings, and that we've seen situations where people may have misdiagnosed, people may have misprescribed purely because they are rusty, and people may just need some revision so they can sharpen their reflexes and be up. So it's an issue where we all become responsible, where we all become outlookers to ensure that everybody is working within his mandate and properly so we can make sure that in the duty of care, nobody has adverse effects based on negligence, which is coming either from the clinician or supporting staff within the care domain.
Vero, Samantha, thank you so much for engaging with us. Now, the Ghana Journalists Association is reaffirming its commitment to protecting media freedom and strengthening professional journalism as it marks 77 years of advocacy for a free and independent press. At a symposium in Accra, the GJA said journalists must be able to investigate, question, and hold public officials accountable without fear, intimidation, or undue interference. Jonathan Kofikumi has more in this report.
For 77 years, the Ghana Journalists Association has remained a key voice in Ghana's development, working with governments, state institutions, civil society, and media organizations to promote press freedom and professional standards. GJA President Albert Kwabena says protecting journalists' freedom to scrutinize issues of public interest remained central to the association's mandate.
Journalists must be free to investigate, question, scrutinize, and report matters of public interest. At the same time, freedom must be accompanied by responsibility. So we have been preaching, as we defend press freedom, we've been preaching for media responsibility. The credibility of the media depends on accuracy, fairness, balance, independence, accountability, and respect for the dignity and rights of others. The GJA will therefore continue to promote ethical journalism while defending the rights of journalists. The media environment has become increasingly challenging with political polarization, misinformation, disinformation.
But press freedom, the association says, must go hand in hand with credibility. Managing editor of the Insight newspaper, Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr. says public trust cannot be built simply by claiming that journalists are professionals. He says journalists must earn that trust through accuracy, verification, and responsible reporting.
Media trust is not created by a slogan. And it is not created by telling citizens that we, the journalists, are professionals. It is built when journalists refuse to publish an unverified allegation, even though publication will generate enormous attention, and when journalism refuses to become an instrument of political convenience. This brings us to the subject of power. Journalism exists to scrutinize power.
Deputy.
Now, former Member of Parliament for Ododo Edwin Nilante van der Poy has issued an unreserved apology to Sammy Gyamfi, the leadership and the rank and file of the National Democratic Congress, following comments he made on City TV or Channel 1 TV. In an official statement released on the 20th of August, Mr. van der Poy admitted to an error in judgment and communication during his broadcast presentation. He clarified that his original intent was to defend the work of Goldboard and support Sammy Gyamfi against political attacks from the opposition, but conceded that his delivery conveyed a completely different impression. Expressing regret over the incident, the NDC stalwart stated that his observations should not have been framed in a way that validated critics or undermined a fellow party member. He reaffirmed his loyalty to the party's collective cause, describing the NDC as his political home, and extended a direct apology to party grassroots who felt disappointed by his remarks. While you're still watching Newsroom, let's bring you the business.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Well, in business this afternoon, Managing Director of Cocoa Marketing Company, William Kofi has launched a new 24-hour operational framework to speed up cocoa handling and exports. Speaking at the launch, William Dogbe said the initiative will allow cocoa to be received, supplied to local processors, and prepared for export around the clock. He made these remarks at the official launch of the 24-hour operational model here in Accra.
The launch, dubbed Offload 24, Load 24, Export 24, brought together key stakeholders across Ghana's cocoa and export value chain, including representatives of Cocoa Board, licensed buying companies, among others. Delivering the keynote address, Managing Director William Kofi Dogbe said the model will reduce track queues, improve turnaround times, and maximize the use of CMC's facilities. He said the system will operate through multiple shifts, creating opportunities for employment and skills development while supporting the faster movement of cocoa from the buying point to the port.
CMC is moving towards a 24-hour operational module built around three major commitments: offload 24, load 24, and export 24. These are not slogans, they are operational commitments. Offload 24 means receiving cocoa from licensed buying companies around the clock, reducing track queues and delays. Load 24 means supplying cocoa to our local processing factories around the clock, allowing them to make better use of the processing capabilities.
Still in business, the National Vice Chairman of the Tanker Drivers Association, Sunday Alabi, says the siphoning of fuel from accident-involved tankers continues despite previous engagements with the Ghana Police Service. He's accusing security personnel of failing to do enough to stop the practice, alleging that some officers stand by while members of the public siphon fuel from overturned tankers. He's appealing to the Inspector General of Police to arrest and prosecute persons involved, warning that the practice poses a serious fire hazard. He also called for intensified public education, stressing that siphoning fuel from accident scenes is both dangerous and illegal.
We have engaged the police years back, and they promised us that they would crunch on these people and cause arrest.
About how many years ago was that engagement?
1.5 years ago. We did so. And even recently, my chairman GHOne, have visited the police headquarters. He mentioned this to them, but it's still ongoing. So we want to plead to the IGP to speak to their men so that they will stop this practice, because it's really affecting our operation. It's really affecting this country. It's really affecting our transporters as well. What we want them to do is that when they see these perpetrators around this track, around these accident scenes, they should arrest them and prosecute them. This is a criminal act. It's a criminal act. So they should be able to prosecute them to serve deterrence to the others. Because when the truck falls like, or involved in an accident like this, you will see there's no fire. But because of their involving, you see fire coming, because fire has three components: heat, fuel, and air. And already there's air there. Already there's fuel there. It's left with heat. They're involving in it will let the heat be there, and then pump. Fire will just set into the tanker.
Well, in a statement issued on Friday, 21st August, the Ghana Grid Company says power supply to areas affected by Thursday's system disturbance have now been fully restored. The development follows assurances by the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Jinapor, that technicians were working to achieve a permanent restoration of power. Gridco added that its engineers and other power sector technical teams immediately began to restore electricity following the disturbance, with power fully restored to all affected areas by 12:03 p.m. Gridco has appreciated the public and stakeholders for their patience and cooperation, assuring that measures are being implemented to strengthen the reliability, stability, and resilience of the national transmission network. Well, so that's your business for this afternoon. Up next is sports.
You buy Compu Ghana. Passion for technology.
All right, well, it's time for sports, and the Minister of Sport and Recreation, Honorable Kofi Adams, has urged all stakeholders involved in the Ghana Premier League to put in measures to make the league attractive. According to the Sports Minister, Ghana's Top Flight League is in competition with other competitions like the English Premier League, Champions League, and other external factors. Well, he made these remarks at the 32nd Annual GFA Congress today.
Our league is competing with the English Premier League, the Championship League, TikTok, streaming platforms, gaming, and every other form of entertainment available on the mobile phone would have to work in tandem to create that kind of atmosphere. Ghana football, therefore, needs to rebuild its foundation through a clear pathway of participation, identification, development.
All right, and Sports and Recreation Minister Honorable Kofi Adams has also disclosed that his ministry has been tasked by President John Dramani Mahama to oversee the construction of 10 new stadiums across 10 regions in Ghana. The initiative forms part of government's broader plans to improve sports infrastructure and provide modern facilities for athletes and sporting communities across the country. The move is also expected to reduce the infrastructure gap and provide communities with better facilities for hosting sporting events. According to the minister, the project will see each of the 10 regions benefit from a new stadium, creating more opportunities for the development and promotion of sports at the regional level. Also, the Ghana Football Association has announced a total of 9.5 million Ghana cedis in prize money to be shared among clubs at the end of the 2026-2027 Ghana Premier League season. The league competitions or champions will receive the biggest share of 3 million Ghana cedis, while the runner-up will take home 1 million Ghana cedis. The third-placed team will receive 800,000 cedis, with the fourth-placed side earning 750,000 cedis. In addition to the end-of-season prize money, each of the 18 Premier League clubs will receive 1 million Ghana cedi in seed money ahead of the start of the new season. The financial package is expected to provide clubs with additional resources as they prepare for the new campaign, while also increasing the incentive for teams to compete for honors in the Ghana Premier League. All right, well, international news is up next. That's it for sports.
Well, on the infectious disease Mpox, with children accounting for half of the 46 suspected cases, the United Nations Children's Agency UNICEF said that it was very concerning that 23 of them are youngsters under the age of 15, of which 16 are under the age of 4. Authorities in Guinea-Bissau said on Monday that 7 adult cases have been confirmed with no fatalities reported. The agency said while Mpox rarely leads to death, newborns and children are more at risk of developing severe cases of the disease. It warned that the reopening of schools in September is expected to increase opportunities for transmission among this vulnerable group. The UN agency warned that critical gaps in surveillance strategies, especially in identifying contacts, testing samples and tracing how the virus spreads, may complicate efforts to address the outbreak. It added, however, that with early detection, care and prevention, Mpox can be managed and its spread reduced. Packaging news from here on GHOne television. Grateful for your company as always. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. Remember, there's more news for you at starfm.com.gh. But at 1 p.m. on the game, you know we're talking about the Fight Fest. Yes, the Hamor Fight Fest. And Funny Face and his team will be in the studios for that at 1 p.m. You don't want to miss out on that one. Have a wonderful afternoon.